Check, check, check. Check 1, 2. All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. Yesterday, we practiced a meditation and we went from the outermost, Annamaya Kosha, toward the innermost, Ananda Maya Kosha, bliss. And I was thinking about today's practice, and we're going to work our way again from the outermost physical layer to the innermost. And what I have to acknowledge here is, for most of us, if not all of us, the biggest struggle is working through. We get through the physical body, we start to feel the breath flowing, suddenly we feel energy inside of us. Most of us are used to sensation of the physical body, energy within it, pranamaya kosha. And then we're used to the mind of thoughts and emotions. These three layers were typically, they're tangible for most of us. They're easy for us to access. It's a routine. We're trained most of our life to be paying attention to these three. To go beyond the mind layer, on the other hand, to turn the buddhi, the intellect, around so that it can reflect the innermost part of ourselves, awareness and bliss, is a very challenging and very esoteric, for that matter, endeavor. It's hard to go inward for the mind, because the mind's entire job is to receive information from the outside world and process it into what we would call our experience. The yogis would tell us that's only one half of the experience. That's just the part of the tangible physical world with the energy that pulses through our body, and then being able to reflect upon the outer experience. Those are the first three layers, but now we've got these other two deeper layers of awareness and bliss. Now, if you've been practicing yoga, becoming aware of without reacting, or just becoming aware of something without judgment, simply awareness of something, is Vijnanamaya Kosha, or the wisdom. There's three names that I would use interchangeably for that fourth layer deep: wisdom, awareness, and knowledge. Those are the three names that we can use interchangeably: wisdom, awareness, and knowledge. So that fourth layer deep, beyond the layer of the mind, is hard to get to, because the mind layer is so captivating. We've got all this unresolved mental energy. That means thoughts and emotions from past experiences. If you remember, I mentioned that the past, the part of our mind that we call the past, the yogis say is called the smriti. It's the memory. So we have our memory bank that holds all of our past experiences of the outside world, a lot of which we haven't given time to process. And so what the yogis tell us is that these memories get stored in our physical body. Now, do we have, we may, maybe perhaps in neuroscience, there's some studies on this, but it'd be very hard since the mind is an intangible thing. You can't cut out a thought or an emotion from the physical body and say, here's a thought or here's an emotion. We can only express those through our words and through our body language. But that's why it's a third layer deep. You can't touch these things. What we could potentially say is the mind is associated with the brain, and we could maybe do some sort of neurostimulus and neuromuscular stimulus, I suppose, if we give someone something to think about, and then maybe we can assess if there is, I don't know, activity in certain areas of the body. So it'd be very hard to prove what yogis are saying is that, and what we're going to work with today, that emotions are stored in the physical body. Thoughts and emotions are stored from the past in our physical body. So what we can do, on the other hand, is have our own current experience of practicing yoga and then reflecting upon that experience and use that as our study. Okay, so a lot of times you'll hear, maybe you haven't heard this, but yoga is the science of the mind. That means the study, science, the study of the mind. The only way to really do a study on the mind, something that is completely intangible, is personal. It's only through our study, our personal study of our own mind, that we can get information out of. Because I cannot study your mind, and other people can't study other people's minds. We can only study our own, because it is not something we can study reactions, we can study pieces of the mind, we could study maybe how the mind works. But a thought, an emotion, it's all just based on collection of data, right? But ultimately, the only one that really knows is ourselves. And that's why this work is so important in the yoga practice, is because the only person that can really help us is us. Now, that's not to say, please don't take that to mean that if we have mental health issues that we shouldn't seek help. That's not what I'm saying. But regarding working through the layers and getting into those deeper states of bliss, in this endeavor, bliss and awareness, by the way, in this endeavor, really, it takes the effort and focus and concentration, as I mentioned yesterday, of the vritti, the rise and fall of the mind. We need to go, an analogy I use a lot is go below the surface of the waves. The waves of the mind, or the rise and fall. Now, all the mental activity, I'm just going to say the couple of parts of the brain. Sorry, not the brain, not the same. The mind. We've got memory, which smriti. We have manas, which is sense perception, your eyes, your ears, your sense of smell, your taste, your touch. These are all senses. There's a part of our mind that the yogis say is processing those. Then we've got the ego, the ahamkara, which is trying to figure out what everything has to do with me, the I. And then we've got the buddhi, the intellect, that is able to turn around and see the inner world. And when it does, we get to that place of chitta, that pure awareness, which is that place of being able to observe without the I, meaning without the ego. It's able to observe without the samskaras, which are the patterns of our past, the behaviors, our thought patterns, our emotional patterns. Chitta is the ability to observe without reaction. Simple as that. So what we're trying to do as we move through these 5 layers, the innermost, is get through that mind layer, that little that hard layer, because that layer holds so much. So today, let's get into our hips. See if by moving through our hips, we can get to a little bit deeper layer of awareness and bliss. How you can tell is if your thoughts begin to feel slower, more still, emotions calmer, more balanced, and in those states, it's easier to go inward. Now, I'll tell you for sure, as you're going through the hip openers, it may bring up emotions, it may bring up wild thoughts, and that's for us to be able to work through them. Okay, so it's like anything else. If you want to clean something, you got to make a mess of it first, right? You got to if you really want to do a deep clean, you got to make a mess first, and then that can appropriately start to be a true clean for the mind. So it's like, like brushing your teeth. You put the toothpaste on, and then like you got all this foam and stuff in your mouth and swishing around. It's a mess. But afterwards, then the teeth are left clean. All right, let's get started. I have to find my watch, so give me a moment. Come to child's pose, please. Let's get into our hip openers. Knees wide, arms out in front to begin the class. And start the inhales and exhales through the nose. Sound of Ujjayi. And take a couple of more breaths to settle in. And we'll take an adventure of hip opening today and see if this study of the physical body, is it true? Do we store thoughts and emotions in our physical form? And as the yogis say, emotions are stored in the hips. So let's check as we open our hips. Do emotions arise? And if they do, can we be aware of them without judgment? Being aware of without judgment means that we're beyond the Manamaya Kosha. Aware of without reacting means we're beyond the Manamaya Kosha and into Vijnanamaya Kosha. It's in that deep state of awareness. If we're aware of but criticizing, or if we're aware of and judging, then we're just simply in the intellect, which is not the same as awareness. So you can be aware of something but still be caught in the mind. But aware of without reaction is one layer deeper than the intellect, than the mind. And we call that Vijnanamaya Kosha. And it's one step closer to bliss. So let's work through it today. I'd like you to press your knees isometrically outward and try to feel your outer hip muscles awaken. As you feel your outer hips awaken, you'll feel your buttocks kind of feels like it spreads outward slightly. Just take note of that sensation. What's happening there is your abductors, your outer hip muscles, are pulling the two sides of your ilium, which are your pelvis, away from the sacrum, creating space in the backside. Okay, release the abductors. Let's come forward to all fours, hands and knees. Tuck the toes, arch the back. Exhale, point the feet round and come to child's pose. Moving through the hips. Inhale, forward, all fours, arch, tuck the toes, look up. Exhale, round, point feet, child's pose. Inhale, forward, tuck toes, arch, look up. Exhale, point the feet round. Inhale, forward, arch, look up. Exhale, tuck toes, down dog. Take a full breath in here. And a full breath out. Another full breath in.
and out. Shift forward, plank pose on the inhale. This time squeeze your shins in, the opposite of what you did in child's pose, and pause. Squeeze in, lengthen the heart and head just slightly forward. Take a full breath in. Exhale, knees down, child's pose, hips to heels. Inhale forward, all fours, tuck the toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank pose, squeeze the shins in toward each other. Exhale, knees down, hips to heels, child's. Inhale forward, all fours, arch, look up. Exhale, hips up and back, downward dog. Pause in downward dog for a moment. Like you did in child's pose, press the backs of your hamstrings outward. So push the back of your legs, the backs of your upper thighs away from one another. And that should activate the outer hip muscles, the same muscles we talked about in child's pose. So once your outer hips awaken, it might feel like the back of your buttocks opens. Keep that and lift your sit bones up, stick your bum to the sky. So we can try to create space for the sacrum, which is the bone between the two sides of your pelvis. Take another breath in. And let's continue. Right leg to the sky in the inhale. And then step forward as you exhale. Come up onto your fingertips and take a breath. Exhale it out. Pull your feet toward one another on the inhale. Take a full breath in. And press your right heel, that's the front leg, straight down into the ground so you get your glute muscles fired up. Scoop your tailbone slightly and bring your hands to your front thigh. Pause there. On the inhale, lift your bum to the sky. So stick your buttocks up and we create what's called anterior tilt of the pelvis. And then as you exhale, scoop the tailbone around the low back and upper back. Inhale, arch the back, stick your bum to the sky, anterior tilt, just moving the pelvis a little bit here. Exhale, posterior tilt, scoop and round. Inhale, arch the back, lift the sit bones. And exhale, posterior tilt and round. Hold. Take the arms out to the side, take a full breath in. Exhale, hands to the ground. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga. Lift the heart 3 times, little cobra. Lift the heart up to warm the back up. Exhale, soften. 2 more. Reach your toes back as you lift. Exhale. Last one. And release. All fours, inhale. Tuck the toes, exhale, downward facing dog. Let's take the left leg to the sky. Step forward. Come up on your fingertips, take a breath in. Okay, squeeze your 2 feet toward each other, activate the inner legs, and press your left heel down, activating your glutes. Move your left sit bone slightly underneath towards the back of your knee and rise up. Once we settle in here and get some balance, now we can move the pelvis, warming up the muscles that surround the hips. On the inhale, anterior tilt, stick your bum to the sky and form an arch in your low back in particular. As you exhale, posterior tilt, scoop the tailbone.
Inhale, anterior tilt, arc the low back. Exhale, posterior tilt, scoop the tailbone. Let's do another one. Inhale, anterior tilt, arch. And exhale, posterior tilt. Holding that, squeeze your 2 feet toward one another. Get really solid. Take the arms out to the side. Full breath in. Exhale, hands to the ground. Plank pose. Inhale. Chaturanga. Go. Slide the hands wide this time. Come up on your fingertips. Inhale, round. Soften as you exhale. Inhale, pull the heart forward and up. Exhale, release. Let's do that again. Inhale, round. Exhale, soften. Inhale, pull the heart forward and up. And release. One more round. Inhale, around the back. Softness, shoulders back. Pull the heart forward. Inhale, rise. And exhale, release. Come to all fours, hands and knees. Inhale. Tuck the toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's take the right leg to the sky on the in-breath. This time you're going to step it right between your hands. Then turn the back heel down. Walk the hands over to the inside of your right leg on a diagonal with your torso. And lift the back inner thigh up high by pulling your feet toward one another. All right, keeping the feet pulling toward one another, press your front knee out towards your pinky toe side of the foot, just enough so you could feel a little bit of opening at the hip here, at the right hip. So a little more space at the in that joint there. Okay, so as you press the knee slightly out and pull your feet toward each other, take 3 breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Press your right heel down into the ground, the outer right heel. Inhale. And exhale. One more full breath in. And exhale. Walk the hands back to the front. Inhale, straighten through the front leg, look forward. Exhale and bow. Bend the front knee, inhale, look forward. Straighten and bow. Inhale, bend the knee. Exhale, straighten and bow. Bend the front knee, inhale. Plant the palms, exhale back, downward dog. Left leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward as you exhale between the hands. Pivot the back heel down, walk the fingertips to the inside on a diagonal. Take a breath here. Okay, the back inner thigh lifts up and pull your feet toward each other. Start to warm up the inner thighs. So what we kind of do here with this hip opening practice is try to activate all the muscles that surround the pelvis, the hip joint. And so there are 4 main actions. The 2 ones that we'll be working with a lot today are squeezing in and pushing out. So as you squeeze your legs toward each other, we work the inner thigh muscles. And in the front leg right now, we're actually working the hamstrings, which is great. And then press your knee out to the side, your left knee, so that gets the outer hips. Okay, so I use what I call the 4 quadrants of the hips: the inside, the outside, the front, and the back. As we squeeze in the legs here, you get the inside of the back leg, the back side of the front leg. You push the front knee out, you get the outside of the front leg. Take one more breath in here. Press your left heel down. Walk the hands back to center. Pivot the back heel up on the inhale. Lengthen the front leg, look forward for the first round. Exhale, bow.
Inhale, bend the front knee. Exhale, straighten and bow. Second round. Again, inhale, bend the knee. Exhale, straighten and bow. Inhale, bend the knee. Step to down dog. Forward to plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga as you exhale. Slide the hands wide, round the back. Soften as you exhale. Pull the heart through and up. Inhale. Exhale, release. All fours, inhale. Tuck the toes, exhale, down dog. All right, so now take a few breaths here and observe as we work through that first layer of Annamaya Kosha, the physical body, and the breath starts to move. And we start to move through Annamaya Kosha and observe that Pranamaya Kosha is pulsing inside of this physical body. As we become awake to these two layers, notice what happens in the mind. Again, notice it's not the same as judging or even, interestingly enough, noticing doesn't even have to do with becoming awake to the contrast. So noticing doesn't have to really include saying this is one way and this is another way, or even reflecting upon previous experiences. Noticing is just watching what is right now, which is really hard to explain intellectually, because the intellect that I'm trying to use to explain it struggles with this concept of just pure observation, because the intellect is on the mind layer, Manamaya Kosha, whereas observation is one layer deeper than the mind. Lift the heels up, look forward. Empty the breath out. Walk, step, hop to the front of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. Let's do another halfway lift, inhale. And hold here. Press the back of your legs apart isometrically. So push from the hamstrings and sit bones, push away from one another, and you'll feel your outer hip muscles activate. Okay, as those muscles activate, lift the heart a little bit more. Exhale, bend the elbows, lean forward a little bit, and bow. Hold here. As you tune into the sensations of the body, we start to move through the awareness of our physical form, becoming awake to it. And we feel that the breath starts to flow, the energy starts to flow. We become awake to Pranamaya Kosha. Place the hands to the hips, arch the back, and rise all the way up. So the question we ask ourselves is, as we move through hip opening, developing awareness of our physical hips and the energy that pulses through, does it affect our emotional state? Does it affect our ability to become more clear in the mind? The mind is thoughts and emotions, how we perceive life. Are we able to, and something we need to remember with koshas is that all of them exist at all times and we have access to them at all times. It's not like, only when you put the key in the door do you get through the mind layer. It's just more metaphorical that we tend to get stuck when it comes to thoughts and emotions. As we move into awareness, we tend to get stuck in a
thought pattern or an emotional pattern. So we try to move through those patterns here on our mat. See if we can do it by working through our physical body and our hips. Reach the arms up. Exhale to the earth bow.
Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Left foot steps back as you exhale. Pull your feet toward each other, rise, high lunge, inhale. Hands to the hips, draw your shoulder blades together. Tip forward, and then point off the back foot, come into like a variation of Dekasana airplane, but with your hands on your hips and your standing knee bent. Micro tuck your right sit bone, that's your standing buttocks. Scoop your tail a little bit, but lift your heart slightly more, okay? So just enough to get your buttock muscles and your hamstrings active. So we have, again, 4 quadrants to our hips. Please be breathing. We have the back side, which we're working now by pressing the sit bone and tailbone down and using the hamstrings and buttocks. We have the outside, the outer hips that we use by pressing the legs apart. We have the inside by squeezing the legs together toward each other. And we have the front side, which we'll get to later. Hands to the ground, step back, downward facing dog. Observe the right hip now. The intellect loves to observe right versus left, so you can allow it. What's the right hip versus the left hip? Can you acknowledge is there a difference in pranic flow? Can you feel a difference of energy in the two? This helps us with discernment, deciding what's best for ourselves. Come forward to plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog, just one breath.
Exhale, down dog.
Let's take an inhale here. And an exhale. On this breath, lift the heels up, look forward. Empty the breath, hop or step to the front of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. To the sun, rise, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana.
To the heart. Rise up, inhale. And bow.
Halfway lift. Right foot steps back. High lunge, rise.
Hands to the hips.
Pitch your body forward, point through the back foot, come up into a modified Dekasana airplane. You're gonna keep your standing knee bent and micro tuck your sit bone. So instead of leaning the pelvis on the thigh, micro tuck enough that your glutes fire up, but keep your chest up so your back muscles are active at the same time. Let's hold here. Keeping the buttocks active. Even the back buttocks too. Lift the back leg up a little bit higher using your buttock muscles in the back leg. And feel the flow of prana moving through the body. The energy, the pulses initiated from the breath or as a result of the breath. Okay, step back, slow. Down dog, and take a moment in your down dog to observe the left hip now. And acknowledge as the sensations of your body become awakened or lit up. What's the experience in the mind? Good, bad, doesn't matter. What is, simply observe. It's the hardest thing to do. The mind layer is always comparing. And we can let it sometimes, it's a good thing, but also to just simply observe. This is what it takes to go to the next layer deep beyond the mind, Jnanamaya Kosha, that awareness layer, that place of deep wisdom and knowledge. It's beyond comparison. It just observes. Come forward to plank in the inhale. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, one breath for Cobra or Up Dog. Exhale, Down Dog. One full breath in. One breath out. Lift the heels on the inhale, look forward. Empty the breath out, hop or step to the front. Halfway lift on the inhale. Exhale and bow. To the sunrise, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Let's keep moving back to the earth, Uttanasana. Halfway lift. Step or hop now, Chaturanga. One breath, Cobra or Up Dog. Exhale, Down Dog. Right leg to the sky. Step forward. High lunge, rise. Open now, Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. Ever so slightly move the groins back a little bit and then pull your feet toward one another. That's going to get the inner thigh of the front leg and the hamstrings. It's going to get the inner leg of the back. Okay, I want to just keep activating those muscles, keeping them active. Lift the abdominals and reach the arms out to the side. So what we're going to try to do is strengthen and heat up the four quadrants of the hips, the fronts, the backs, the insides, and the outsides. And from that heat, we create malleability, mobility, flexibility, however you want to look at it, and we start to stretch. And we're going to be curious and observing the signs of the mind. We observe what happens emotionally and with our thoughts and our emotions. Does something happen as we connect to our hips? Even here, as we strengthen our hips, can you observe your emotions and your thoughts? Sometimes when you observe, you might witness chaos, or you might witness absolutely nothing. Because maybe in that moment of observation, of pure awareness, once you went into that place of observation, you went beyond the layer of the mind. And that's okay. Flip the right palm, reverse warrior. Exhale, hands to the ground. Inhale, plank. Chaturanga. Cobra or Up Dog. Exhale, Down Dog. Left leg to the sky. Step forward. Push down, rise, high lunge. Open Warrior 2. Again, we're going to be here for a little bit. At this point, the smriti, the memory, starts remembering the last side, and you say, oh, wow, we held that posture for a while. And that's where some scars start to come in. Patterns of mind, you start saying, oh, no, we're going to hold it for a while on this side. That's the case. But when we talk about awareness, we're asking ourselves, can we be completely present in this moment, not in the last side or anything that's happened in our past experiences, but right now? So as you breathe, Pranamaya Kosha, can you witness the reactivity of the mind, witness emotions and thoughts? The witness is Vijnanamaya Kosha, the kosha, that fourth layer deep. The mental activity, thoughts and emotions, that's the Manamaya Kosha, third level. Can you witness, fourth level deep? Take the arms out to the sides. As you pull your feet toward each other and breathe here, can you observe? You can certainly observe the sensations of the body. They're obvious. The outermost always is most obvious. How about, can you observe the flow of prana through you?
You could feel it in the form of breath right now, flowing, and energy that's pulsing through the physical body. Can you observe your thoughts and emotions? Watch and witness one of them, or all of them. Flip the left palm, inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, hands to the ground.
Plank pose on the next breath in.
Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Inhale. Exhale, down dog.
Let's enjoy 3 breaths and go back to witnessing, observing the physical body, Annamaya Kosha. How about the breath flowing through you? Pranamaya Kosha. Observe any thoughts that come to mind. The thought forms and patterns are existing in the mind layer. The witness, the observer, is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, that one layer deeper, one layer closer to bliss. Lift the heels up, inhale, look forward. Empty the breath out, hop or step. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. Take your hands to your outer shins. With your hands on your outer shins, squeeze inward. Now, with the backs of your heels, calf muscles, hamstrings, and buttocks. From the backs of your legs, in other words, push outward until you feel your outer hip muscles tone and you feel an opening in the backside of your legs here. Okay, so press outward. Now, micro tuck your tailbone slightly. You'll feel your belly lift a little bit as a result, and maybe your buttocks fires up. All right, take your hands to your hips, arch the back, tuck the tail, and rise. Bend your knees. We do this exact same thing. First, to relieve the outer hips for a moment, squeeze your shins, your 2 shins, inward toward one another, working the inner legs, and sit down. Okay, move your hips and knees back. Once you do that, now let's get the outer hips toned again. Push the backs of your heels and hamstrings and buttocks. You can take your outer hips here and pull them towards, like as if you're trying to pull the backs of your legs towards your front of your legs. Pull out and around as you sit. Okay, now keeping that, micro tuck the sit bones slightly underneath. So you're going to feel your belly lifts a little, and your tail tucks a little. Now lift your heart. Your back muscles work to lift your chest up taller. Use your back muscles. Inhale, reach the arms up. The little thing about hip opening is the back needs to be stable. So if the low back is stretching, then the hips are likely not stretching. If the low back is engaged, then it puts the movement into the hips. Let's do 2 more breaths. Observe and witness the flow of energy moving through you, Pranamaya Kosha. Witness, Vijnanamaya Kosha, the energy flowing through you, Pranamaya Kosha. Bow forward, exhale. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step or hop, Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra pose. Exhale, down dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward. High lunge, rise, inhale. Open warrior 2. Reverse warrior, inhale. Side angle preparation, forearm on thigh, hand on hip. Move the groins back and draw your feet toward each other isometrically. Pull your 2 feet toward one another. Holding that, slide your right hand down to the inside of your right foot. A little bit of a back bend and turn your chest. Left hand to the sky. Let's take 3 breaths. As soon as you observe that the thought or emotion comes into play, see if you can maybe just transition to watching the breath move. Or observe that you're having the thought. Observe that you're having an emotion and step into that witness
The part of you that is the observer. Release both hands. Okay, now you're going to take your right hand outside the right foot. Back heel goes back slightly as you straighten through the front leg. Left hand to the hip. Turn the chest again. Utthita Trikonasana. Option, left hand stays to the hip. Or option, left hand to the sky. Use your breath to remind you that the mind isn't the only layer. You can observe it. Doesn't mean it's always going to be there. Thank God. The thoughts will be there when we get back to them. The emotions will be there when we get back to them. Just take a moment to observe them rather than get caught up in them. And bend the knee. Place both hands to the ground. Step back to down dog. Forward to plank. Chaturanga. Cobra on the inhale or up dog. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Inhale. Step forward. Rise, high lunge. Open warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, side angle. Move the groins back, move the hips back. Pull your feet toward one another. Observe the sensations of your hips. Slide the left hand down to the inside of the foot. Little bit of a back bend, turn your chest. Reach the right hand to the sky. Remember, the observation is the key here. Witnessing, whether it's the physical body, or the breath, or the thoughts and emotions, the fact that we are turning on the witness, Vijnanamaya Kosha, the deeper parts of ourselves, is what's going to help us to awaken and become aware of awareness itself. Right hand, actually both hands to the ground, sorry. On either side of the front foot. Back heel goes back a little bit, straighten through the front leg. Walk your left hand back, turn the chest, Utthita Trikonasana. Option again, hand stays on hip, or right hand to the sky. Again, tune into the breath. And try to work your way inward to awareness by becoming aware of anything that gets in the way. You just see an emotion, observe it. If you see a thought, watch it. There's a big difference between watching it and becoming it. And then participating with it. All right, bend the knee, hands to the ground. Again, plank pose. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Exhale, down dog. 3 breaths, inhale. Exhale. Press the backs of the legs apart a little bit and lift your bum up to the sky a little more. One more breath. Lift the heels up on the inhale. Empty it out, hopper step. Half lift, inhale. Exhale, bow. Bend the knees, chair pose, Utkatasana. Take the hands to the heart. You're going to take a twist to the right. Left tricep, right thigh. Open the chest, lay back a little bit. Holding here, 3 breaths. Witness. Slide your left, you can look down, slide your left foot straight back gently. Lunge twist, press through your right heel, activating your buttocks, turn your chest. Two more breaths. Scoop your tailbone a little bit, press through your right heel, one more breath. High lunge, rise up. Open warrior 2. Reverse warrior. Exhale, hands to the ground on the inside of your right foot like we started off. Okay, so now we'll open up the right hip here by moving the groins back. Gently keep the back thigh lifted, by the way. Gently pull your feet toward one another. And stick your bum slight anterior tilt. Like, remember that beginning posture where we stuck our butt up to the sky? Do that a little bit here. Stick your bum to the sky a little bit. And bow on the inside of your right leg. Okay, as you go deeper into this pose, you're going to feel your right hamstring probably and your inner thighs stretch. Can you pull your feet gently toward each other and press down through your front heel, straight down, not forward, down into the ground? That should activate those muscles that are stretching, give them a little bit more opportunity to open when they're active. Let your head bow a little bit more. And breathe. And as you breathe, remember the goal today is to turn on that witness, the observer inside of us. That place of awareness. To become aware of means to observe without judgment, without decisions, without actions or even reactions, just simple observation. So simple that it's tough. All right, bring the hands back to the center. Now, a little different. You're going to walk your right foot to the left foot to the right, lengthen through the top of the head, and bow, wagging your tail to the left. So your legs are crisscrossed, and you should be stretching the outer hips here. 2 more breaths. All right, slide your left knee behind the right ankle. Bend your front knee to come into Ardha Matsyendrasana. This is going to be a seated spinal twist. So you take your left arm around the right leg, lift the heart up to the sky on the inhale. And as you exhale, twist your heart to the right, pull your right shoulder back. And with your front hip, press your right heel, your front heel down into the ground. And that will help you twist, but it'll also activate your inner thighs and buttock muscles in this position. Full breath in and full breath out. One more full breath in and full breath out. Actually, let's do one more full breath in and out. All right. Swing the top leg, your right leg around. So your left leg is forward in pigeon pose, and take your left shin across to the left. Now, with your back leg, tuck your toes so you have like a little bit of a kind of a hinge at the back ankle. Okay, so you're going to move your back leg back and move your hips towards the back leg like so. You see that? So moving back, 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 back. Now, press your left knee down into the ground and even pull your 2 knees toward one another. So instead of sitting onto your left hip, you're going to press your shin and knee down and pull your knees toward each other. Round the back,
Heat up the left buttocks by pressing your left shin and knee down into the ground. Hips are up off the ground. And then take your arms forward if you can into this power pigeon posture. Let's take 2 more breaths. Hips up, hips up, hips up. Acknowledge any emotions or thoughts that come up and just breathe through them. Both hands to the ground. Step back, downward facing dog. I just have to turn my monitor back on. Apologize. 3 breaths. One more breath. Lift the heels up on the inhale. Look forward, empty the breath out. Hop or step lightly to the front of the mat. Halfway lift when you get there. Exhale and bow. Take a moment to observe the right and left hip. One more breath in as you observe. Acknowledge what is. All right, rise to the sun, Urdhva Hastasana. Hands to the heart. Let's take that journey on the left side. Bend the knees, Utkatasana. Take the palms together, twist to the left. Okay, we hang out here for a moment. Draw the tailbone so it faces straight back. And then turn your inner navel to the left. That will lift your heart up to your thumbs. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Pull your left shoulder back a little bit to kind of accentuate the twist. One more breath here. Observe the sensation of your left buttocks and see if you can root your left buttocks down into your heel and then look down. Keep your left buttocks like tucking underneath as you slide the right foot straight back. Keeping the left heel rooted into the ground. Again, this is the buttocks activating. Then you can lift your heart up to your thumbs and we'll take 3 solid breaths here, staying with it. Keep your buttocks active, scoop your tail. Stay with it. Rise, high lunge, inhale. Open up, warrior 2. Reverse warrior, inhale. And take the hands to the inside of the foot. Okay, so you move your groins back. Remember, the objective here is to become more aware of, to observe. So as thoughts and emotions enter in, positive or negative, it doesn't make a difference. Just observe that they are there without getting attached to them, without running with them, becoming them. Okay, so pull your feet toward each other, lengthen the heart, and lift your sit bones up slightly, slowly, but slightly, until you feel your butt sticks up to the sky, then bow, bending the elbows. Back inner thigh stays lifted, so you press down through the outer edge of the foot to lift the back inner thigh up. You don't push out, you press down into the outer edge of the back foot, which is different. You don't push the feet apart. You press down, the inner thigh lifts up. Acknowledge the sensations. If a thought arises, you observe that it's there. If you get caught up in a thought or emotion, simple, just shift your attention to the breath that moves through your body. The magnificent pulse of prana inside of this physical form, pranamaya kosha inside of annamaya kosha. All right, now walk your hands back to center and crisscross the legs. Lengthen the heart. And bow. Wag the tail straight back behind you. Enjoy 3 breaths together. All right, bring your right knee behind the left ankle or outside the left ankle.
Come into a seated position. Okay, we take a lift of the chest up. Turn the belly, turn the heart. Lift the heart up, lift the skull up. Exhale, twist. Press your left heel, that's the top leg, by the way, down and across into the ground. So the top shin diagonally pushes down through the heel. That's going to activate your adductors, your inner thighs, and your buttocks of that top leg. One more breath. Coming undone. Swing this top leg, left leg comes around.
Okay, the front knee goes out to the side. Now use the back leg, lift the knee up, and you can move everything back, including the back knee. You can use the back ankle as like a hinge. Let me move that block out of the way so you can see that. The ankle as a hinge to stretch the front hip. Now once you get into that, now we want to activate the front hip. And the way we do that is press your right knee down into the ground. As you press your right knee down into the ground, now pull your knees toward one another till you get your hips active. Start to scoop your tailbone and round your back. And we're going to do that power pigeon. Here we go for 3 breaths. Arms forward and up. Hips are off the ground. 2 more breaths. Pull your knees toward each other. 1 more breath. And release hands to the ground. Step back, downward dog. Take a full breath in. And out. Lift the heels up, look forward. Empty it, hop or step. Halfway lift. Exhale, bow. To the sunrise, Urdhva Hastasana. To your heart. All right, let's get a little deeper into the hips now. Again, our objective is to kind of observe what happens as we get into hip openers and hip strengtheners, just working through the hips, acknowledging if there's any greater cleansing of emotions or thoughts, meaning do emotions and thoughts arise? That's what cleaning is. It's taking out all of what is in there and cleaning it out. It's not shoving it down like you did, at least I did when I was younger. If my mom told me to clean the room, just like push everything in the closet and shut the door. That's not really cleaning, right? That's just kind of making a mess elsewhere. But what we're trying to do with the mind is bring up the stuff to the surface. Now, this may or may not be your experience, so let's leave it open. Okay, let's open the hips and just observe. Observe if thoughts and emotions are coming up. Take I'll mirror you, right ankle over the knee. Try like you did in chair pose and pretty much a lot of the poses to stick your bum like you're pushing your legs, the backs of your legs apart. So in this case, your right bum apart. So you can take your hand underneath your buttock hamstring here and pull it out to the side in order to create a deeper stretch, and then come down and to the right. If you can't get down, put your hands on blocks or on a wall in front of you is great, okay? Now, take a few breaths just to kind of get into the zone here. Letting the hips kind of awaken. Let the flow of breath move through the body. Pranamaya Kosha moving through Annamaya Kosha. Now let's take a little bit deeper. Take your left hand to your heel. See, this is the heel here. A lot of people will put their hand on the sole of their foot or the ankle, right at the heel. Okay, once you get it onto the heel, press the heel across towards the knee. Okay, so push the heel towards your knee in that direction. And then kick your heel back into your hand. And that should awaken a new sensation in the body. Okay, the deeper we get into the hips, and you're not trying to strain or tear anything here, so don't overdo it. But the deeper we get into the sensations of the hips, typically most people experience a rise of emotions or thoughts, and those don't necessarily mean they're happy or sad, or there's no quality that's associated with emotions or thoughts. It just is. And if you see them come up, some of them might be from way back when. It's normal. The smriti recalls memories. There might be some thoughts or emotions around the ego, the I am. I'm too tight. I'm too weak. I'm not strong. Whatever it might be. It comes up. All right, and rise all the way up.
Release left and right. Stand on your legs, on your two legs. Observe the experience that you're having right now. Now you might be saying, well, I'm always thinking, I always have emotions, so what's the difference when I'm in a hip opener? For some people, depending on the day, it's not, I can speak for myself, it's not every day that I do a hip opener, but on some occasions when I get a certain depth in my hips or hit a certain angle, there's a volume knob that is raised on an emotion or set of emotions that comes to the surface, gives me an opportunity to witness and see them. And you might decide to contemplate and let yourself go down that rabbit hole, and might be a good thing, usually is. But maybe for right now, you just witness that they're there. And then after the practice, you journal and you contemplate what came up. Allow that to be your process of thinking on purpose, thinking with purpose. Take your ankle across the other one. Pull your buttocks up and out to the side. So you use the practice to try to be present here now so that you can become aware of what comes up. Once aware of what comes up, then you can go into that contemplation mode, working through the kinks of the mind. You might acknowledge something comes up from the past, something comes up about the ego, the I am, the identity. Whatever it is, there is a time and space for you to work through it. So the important thing is that you do work through it. I suggest journaling. I suggest talking to friends, talking to a therapist, talking to a coach, whatever talking to family members, talking to the person that maybe the memory is coming up about. Okay, place your right hand on the heel and push the heel across towards the knee. And then your heel kicks back into the hand. So while you're in the practice, the practice is right now. And that's the key word, practice, not performance, not right or wrong, just practice. Practice right now is to observe what comes up. Acknowledge it, see it. The observance is Vijnanamaya Kosha. And when we get into that deep state of Vijnanamaya Kosha, beyond the mind, usually deep wisdom is revealed, showing us what needs to be worked out, showing us what needs more thought, more contemplation. And then we can go back to the mind and work through it from a greater sense of awareness and purpose. We can give direction to our thoughts and contemplations. Come on up slowly. So Vijnanamaya Kosha brings to light, and usually that's why it's called jnana, is wisdom or knowledge. So when we enter into that state of deep awareness, knowledge arises. And then what we do with that knowledge is the next practice. But this practice is getting into that state of witnessing, becoming aware. All right, continue our hip opening experience. We do need to open the front of the hips. So you're going to take your right foot forward, left knee down, left hand out to the side, and let's stretch the quads by bending the back knee and taking a thigh stretch. Pressing the heart forward to stretch the hip flexors all the way up through the psoas.
Again, if a thought arises, an emotion arises, you become aware of it. And in the state of jnana maya kosha, jnana, knowledge, you might certainly have something revealed to you. Becoming aware of a thought pattern that maybe you didn't realize was there, or an emotional pattern. Or maybe nothing at all. Maybe you just feel good in your hips. That's something to be aware of too. Not every practice is profound. Okay, and release. Sometimes we get caught up too much in that looking and seeking. Switch sides, please. That we don't realize the magnificence of just getting in our body. All right, bend the back knee. Thigh stretch on this side. And sometimes the Annamaya Kosha, the physical body, might be the hardest layer to get through. It takes all of our attention. We have pain or discomfort. And so the asana practice gives us an opportunity to focus our attention on the physical body. But remember that attention and awareness is the fourth layer deep. So by placing your attention on the physical body, you're also simultaneously experiencing the deeper layer of awareness. Two more breaths. And release. Come to down dog for a moment. Let's take the right shin across the mat. Pigeon prep. Tuck the back toes. First, press both knees down and toward one another. Lift the heart up. Press the belly and low back forward. Lift the heart up. Now crawl your hands over to the left. Okay, keep the hips slightly up. Move the back leg back if possible. And then bow, taking your right elbow, if possible, right up against the foot. If not, catty cornered like so. Now different angles will create different experiences for everyone in the hips. So what I'm providing is just suggestion. A little tuck of the right sit bone. Tuck your right side of your tailbone a little bit. One more breath here. Exhale the breath out. And walk your hands slowly back to the center. Step the right leg back in a downward facing dog and observe the sensation of your right hip and left hip. And let's seek to balance out Annamaya Kosha, the physical body, by taking the left shin across the mat. And again, the back hip moves back. Both hips are off the ground. Pull your knees toward each other. Walk your hands back at first. A little arch of your low back, but pressing the front shin down. And now come over to the right. If possible, left elbow. It may not be, just catty corner across the foot is fine. Or left elbow inside the foot.
A little tuck of the left side. Walk your hands back. Step to all fours. Now from all fours, pause, take a breath, let the left hip kind of get back to its normal flow of blood. You take your right foot outside of your right hand. Your hips will be rather high up, so you're going to move your foot, your back foot, in so that your thigh rotates out. Stick your bum up into anterior tilt. So arc your low back. That will help you come down, forearms on the blocks or the ground. And then here, as you're moving inward, observe any thoughts that may arise. And also acknowledge that every time that I ask you to observe your thoughts or emotions, quite often the case is if you are asked to observe them, you can no longer see them. And that's because you've stepped out of the mind and into awareness. Now, you can certainly be aware of your thoughts. It's possible, but sometimes it's just hard at first. You're either in them or you're not. And that's normal. Just letting you know in case that's happening to you. Observe your thoughts. Observe your emotions. What comes up for you within the practice. All right, come on out of that. Come to all fours, hands and knees. Switch sides. Left foot outside the hand. Back thigh rotates out, so the foot comes in. A little anterior tilt. Stick your bum up and place the forearms to the blocks or the ground. First, witness, of course, the obvious, the sensations of the body. Then witness the flow of energy through this body. And then try to witness and observe your thoughts or emotions, the experience you might be having, drummed up from the past. Or it can be thoughts about the processing of sensation, right? Manas is part of the mind that processes sensations and other sense awarenesses. And see if you can just be aware that you are observing. If you can be aware of awareness, aware of your awareness, watch yourself watching. Okay, coming on up. Step back, all fours. Arch the back, look up. And release. Come to Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose, cobbler's pose. Don't worry about don't worry about where your knees are. You can lift your hips up on top of a blanket is great, but move your groins back, stick your bum back slightly. Press your center of your heels toward one another. Again, don't try to if you press your knees down, that's going to be against what we're trying to do. So just push your heels toward each other. Lean the heart forward. And bow. Come on up. Take your right heel to your groin, left leg out to the side. Lift your bum up, move it back. This time bow straight forward to the center. And then take a side stretch.
And coming on up.
Switch sides. Bow forward. Now, simply as you're in these postures here, acknowledge the quality of your mind. Is it slow, fast, calm, energized? Just acknowledge. Take a side stretch. Come on up. Come lay on your back for happy baby pose. Full breath in and out. Release into Shavasana. If you like, you can take constructive rest, knees knocked in, arms however you'd like them, either out to the sides or in cactus shape. Let's take a breath in together. Out through the mouth. And settle in as the body becomes heavy to the earth. The mind becomes light. Observe this human experience. Layered from the physical to the energetic, to the mental, emotional, to awareness. And at the deepest core, we have bliss. Go now inward to the state of blissful awareness.
blissful awareness. Bring your breath back to your awareness. Begin to deepen the breath. Gently awaken fingers and toes. And stretch the arms. Roll to your side. Come up to a seated position as you're ready. Place the palms at the heart center. And take a moment to acknowledge your experience. Experience is the greatest gift that we have as humans. This happens in the mind layer. Our ability to witness this experience is what actually makes us human. The witnessing, the ability to observe and reflect. This is what the word Homo sapien means, to the one that's able to reflect upon themselves. So this is another magnificent gift that reveals to us the knowledge, the deep knowing of the universe from deep within ourselves. So thank you for taking this journey towards bliss and awareness today and opening your hips. Would love to hear from you and what your experience was. Namaste. Hope you feel delightful. And if you have anything to share regarding your experience, please post in the Facebook group. I look forward to reading what came up or what didn't come up, for that matter, or anything about the practice that maybe felt good, didn't feel good. Any questions? Let's chat. Let's see. Today is Tuesday. On Thursday, we'll be meeting after class for a Zoom call. For anybody that wants to connect, we'd love to have you there. And the September immersion starts next Tuesday. See you in September as well. Lots of love, everybody. Take care.